David, thank you so much for accepting our invitation from People Helping People program under Existing Consulting. It's a great pleasure to have someone like you with a massive and great experience in the construction industry and project management with us here today.
Thank you, Rami. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for the invite and thank you for the great introduction. We're here for People Helping People. It's a great topic and subject and cause, so let's dive right into it.
Beautiful, thank you. Could you tell us about your experience in the construction industry and how it inspired you to start Creative Vision?
Yeah, great question, Rami. As co-founder and director of Creative Vision, we provide multiple services. We're a development and construction industry consultancy firm that provide project management, superintendent, advisory role services, and also design and planning management services. So with all that being said, we've embodied and the business is based on my 23 years plus of industry experience in construction. And that journey started from when I was an architect. So my background is architecture early on in my career. Got my master's in architecture, worked for multiple firms, one being Architectus. Worked on a lot of design documentation and construction, working with the big firms, tier ones, and leading and delivering a lot of award-winning projects such as One Bly Street with Grocon at the time, not today. And that there was a pivotal moment in my career and allowed me to make a key decision into where I wanted to go and evolve. So going from architecture, day to day working on design documentation details and seeing it come to life on site, being on site daily, watching the building come together, triggered that I had more to offer. And with more to offer, I realized I didn't want to just stay in design and in architectural consultancy. I needed to be part of the entire picture, not just one piece of the picture. And that's when my journey really kicked off and decided to get into project management and construction. And an opportunity came up where I actually needed to get the right nurturing. So New South Wales Public Works was my first place in project management. Got a lot of nurturing there, learned a lot about contracts, learned a lot about governance systems and processes, spent some time there. And that opened up my eyes into bringing it all together. And it was one of the building blocks or the bolt-on tools that built my career. From that point, I've gone private sector, public sector, now state government. I then decided to challenge myself a bit more and moved on to local government and took on an opportunity with Sydney City Council. Working there was great, it was interesting. Worked on a lot of public domain, open space buildings, commercial, recreational, from Green Square to Cook Phillip Park, and a lot of fit out projects. And that was a great experience. And again, it was part of my career growth. And the reason why I'm sort of earmarking these movements is because this established the foundations leading into Creative Vision. So instead of it being sort of inspired, it was actually the building blocks or planting of the seeds and the knowledge and the skill sets increasing over time. I knew I had a lot to offer, but I also had a lot to learn. And that was the process that I took. At Sydney City Council, I also hit a wall where I realised I had even more to offer. I had a lot of drive, passion, and I wanted to now bring back what I've learned in architecture, what I've learned in state and local government, and bring it back to the private sector. And an opportunity came up working with a builder developer in the private sector. Very successful builder developer. They're doing very well right now, Urban Property Group, and they're leading the front at the moment. So they're doing excellent work there. My experience working for a builder developer in the private sector introduced another dynamic to my growth and also to learning how to develop my skill sets ready for Creative Vision, what it is today. It was a day-to-day approach. It was client side. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of constraints. The dynamics were interesting. We use the topic here, people helping people. I think when I moved over to the private sector for a builder developer, this is where it really started. And I got to utilize my skill sets that I've learned or built up over time to help us grow collectively. Down to the suppliers, to the subcontractors, to the consultants, to the staff. Day to day, we were helping each other understand how to deliver a project. Now I go by saying of you're only as good as the people you're surrounded by. And when you think of that term, literally you can't deliver something on your own. It's a team effort. But at the same time, you have to deliver it in terms of quality, compliance, time and cost. So it's important to have the right people around you. And that helped me sort of step out of my shell where I saw there were shortfalls. With subcontractors, you had to lead the line. You had to become a leader. You really had to feed them the right information, guide them. So my experience in governance and systems and scoping and procurement played a big role there to help them lift the bar too. So that went on for years, and we succeeded and achieved many awards and delivered a lot of projects there. And my success in growth in my own career was increasing. And I knew I was getting to a point where, okay, what's my next step? And my next step was always part of my vision. And that was to have my own firm and produce my own projects or deliver projects for other clients under my banner. And this is where Creative Vision came from. And this led to Creative Vision, where how can I help people grow and realize their reality? And hence the term Creative Vision, where we create their vision.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, David, for sharing this with us. This will lead me to my second question. Reflecting on people helping people philosophy, how do you think that Creative Vision has contributed to helping people?
Yeah, very, very good question there, Rami. I think I might answer this one by stating what's our mission first, because I believe that we all have a purpose in what we do, and there's usually a lot of problems out there that we need to solve. And part of solving some of these problems, we've identified that we're in a position now where we need to transform the construction and building industry landscape to return and build back the confidence and trust back into the wider public and the construction industry as a whole. So that's our first statement, our punch statement. So whenever we sort of take on a project or a client, or we get asked questions to help and assist with our services, we have to put that in front of us first by understanding that we know our objectives straight off the bat. Because projects do not stop and start on a piece of paper. They continue on forever. And that's how we think of what we do as a service and the projects that we're delivering. That at handover, this continues on with occupiers, with purchasers and tenants or end users. So we've got to think about the future. And by thinking about that, we reverse engineer that and think very heavily about, right, what do we need to do to the industry? What game-changing methods do we need to apply to make this a better outcome for everybody? So who is everybody and how are we contributing to helping these people? These people would be made up of clients, and clients can be landowners, developers, builders. This could be all types of stakeholders on a project, indirectly and directly. So from consultants to suppliers to manufacturers, even to staff. So with Creative Vision's ethos or philosophy as well, or our pillars within our own company and governance, we ensure that we're fulfilling helping all these types of people throughout the life of the project. So we could be upskilling along the way some of the consultants and raising the bar with some of the subcontractors that we work with, or the head contractors and so forth, and better more the developer or the landowner, just helping educate them about what's actually required in the industry, so they know what they're getting into and what's required of them. They've got to be accountable, and it's a big responsibility, and that's why they come to us at Creative Vision to help sort of hold their hand and guide them through that process.
Beautiful, thank you for that. This will lead me to the third question, which will have two parts of it. And what led Creative Vision to prioritize inclusivity and accessibility in its projects? And was there a specific event or particular project that caused this shift?
Yeah, that's a very deep question there, Rami. And I think the way to answer that one is that would have taken not just a particular event or a project, but an array or a plethora of experience across multiple projects, which we felt the outcome. Over time, we come to the realization of how necessary it is to prioritize having access consultants early on in the picture. Why wait for the problem to arise? Why can't we avoid all the minor issues and mistakes that will arise if you haven't provisioned for access requirements? With access requirements, it's just as important as any other discipline early on in the picture. You need to provision, you need spatials, you need clearances, gradients, handrails, ramps, all detailed correctly. It's the small things that make the biggest difference. And when you let them go and you miss them out, they're eventually going to come back and get you. So what's the point? If you're going to do it anyway, why not do it early? There's no added cost to it, but what you are doing, you're actually saving time, cost, and quality.
Agree.
And allowing for better quality outcomes. You're avoiding time constraints or going back to council and so forth, or costs or frustration.
Thank you, David. That's a very detailed answer covering that question, and specifically what you covered also. People sometimes they don't realize that the time spent at the start looking after accessibility provisions, that will save them a lot later. Sometimes people go in rushing to develop their plans and lodge it, regardless at what stage, early stage at the design or for a DA, without considering the fact and realizing that this rational decision will impact the process of the project later in many aspects that you just covered.
Yeah, correct. No, I agree.
So David, collaboration is the key for learning and growth. How has working with professions in accessibility space enhanced your team's perception and understanding of accessibility codes and standards?
Yeah. Part of our core role in design management is definitely collaboration. Collaboration is instrumental to the process of design coordination, design documentation, leading into construction. So it's something that we give opportunity to all our essential consultants early on in the phase to assist us with reviewing design documentation, reporting, and providing feedback. That feedback or that reporting or the markups that we receive gets distributed and communicated with all other disciplines. It is at that point that access consulting becomes part of that. We tend to just get the architecturals and structurals and lock-in packages and then jump straight into services, and we forget about access. Did I allow enough clearance here? They're locking in columns, they're locking in walls, and just avoiding car spaces, and accessible entry points or adaptable units are being designed and not thought through, or NDIS, and these play a key component and can change your design outcome. So we, as part of Creative Vision, we develop a design program, and this design program gets distributed with all consultants that are onboarded early on at the outset of design phase. In that, we break up every milestone and objective leading to hold points. And these hold points are key to the success of the project and gives everyone an opportunity to freeze what we're doing, quickly review, check, go back, correct it, and then move on to the next phase. And we do this periodically throughout the design phase. It's not a one-off. And it's at that point, one of those milestones is to allow the introduction of the access consultant to collaborate with all other disciplines and ourselves. Now, the great thing is, before we start that process and we go down that path, and that's a quality assurance measure, is that working with access consultants such as AccessLink helps bring up to speed our team. So early on in the picture, we could speak the language at an entry point level, from a code perspective to a compliance perspective to a standard perspective, depending on the context of the project. We deal with multiple class type buildings or building types, and they all vary, but we can now vision and see exactly what others require, whether it be fire engineering, BCA, but access consultants, and apply it early and flag it. If we miss something, our next point of check is that hold point. So collaboration is key throughout. It's holistic in that design phase.
Beautiful, and I agree with you in terms of the codes and the standards implemented on the different classes, because I think this collaboration is a learning curve for your teams in adapting and adhering to accessibility standards that are related to different building classification as well.
Correct. That's a very good point you make. The NCC code has changed over the last year. So it's very important that we stay up to speed. And occasionally people get complacent within our industry and keep reverting back to old codes or no codes. So we need to be 2 steps ahead of everybody and know what's coming before it occurs, so we can provision for it. You could be in a DA or a CC, and you're not going to meet the cutoff of the new rollout of NCC updates. That applies. What's the point? So this is why we introduce access consultants early. This is why we try and educate ourselves internally and upskill our staff. And by doing that, it's being around the same body of people. We look at our consultants as part of the collective team, not a bunch of individuals.
Yes.
And as we come together, that allows us to talk like an access consultant as well. We can't sign off and certify, but yeah, these are preventative measures. These are intervening processes that are important.
I wish all firms like creative vision approach, because we work with different people, as you might know, in the industry, and we realize that some people, and I'm not saying everyone is like that, but some people neglect the fact of the importance of educating their teams members and making sure that these provisions are adhered to and captured at the early stages.
Correct.
And they keep them in the dark just to execute the full delivery required for the job, just to meet their deadlines.
Yeah, that's right. Unnecessary pressures when we should be spending the right time to get the right quality output.
Yeah. So reflecting on your portfolio, David, could you please walk us through a specific project where your teams had a massive and significant impact in changing the lives of a certain community?
I'd like to say that we've contributed or we've impacted significantly across multiple different types of builds. We run multiple projects from Class 2 residential mixed-use developments to early learning, commercial, industrial. So the impacts have been positive, and it's gone in the right way towards certain different types of categories or communities. But I'd like to answer this in 2 parts. One is in terms of community that's been impacted the most, and we feel very blessed to have worked in this space, is dealing with NDIS. We delivered quite a lot and some complicated and significant NDIS projects leading up to high physical support units. Now, it's important to understand that in context, majority of these projects were underway, and it's almost like a brain snap occasionally where the client would request, all right, I want 30 units in this complex to be NDIS. It's not that simple. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and there's a lot of education behind it and scoping, and this is where AccessLink has helped us help the client understand scope, understand what's involved, what has to be prioritized, what has to be sacrificed too, because the provisions are greater. We're giving to a need that allows them an opportunity to sort of integrate back into community. And to do that, your door widths expand, your clearances through corridors expand, and provisions need to be in place. So it's been rewarding seeing the tail end of it when a client from NDIS is coming through in their wheelchair and they get to see what they're about to receive. And it gives them another chance to life, to enjoy normality like any other person. And that's been very rewarding to us and gives us a bit more drive in delivering those types of projects and helping that community that are in need and in high demand.
I agree with you, and I think this is one of the key points that led us to establish the program of People Helping People, because we can see what sort of an impact we create in a society and a community, and overall it reflects on the country itself, on how we promote something so small that we can't even realize living in your apartment or a house for a person that doesn't have this advantage, considering NDIS apartment is their house, integrating them with the society and people within their community.
Yeah, correct. Just to reflect on what you said there, it also brings awareness to our clients to understand the needs of that particular community. And we have to upskill and re-educate some of our developers about what's required from the outset before we get right into it. And this is good even for our staff and our consultants, and even down to the trades that work on these types of works. So yeah, that's all bundled into what people helping people is all about.
Correct. Now, in your opinion, being in this industry for a long time, and as you know, the Design and Building Practitioner Act was adopted recently in New South Wales, but access consultants are not part of the act. Do you think that it's important to have access consultant under the act and have declared, let's say, design and reports, and why?
Very good question, and I believe I'd like to change the category that access consultants fall under and call them an essential consultancy service. So similar to how under the DBP Act, you've got principal design practitioners and you've got design practitioners, and the list of disciplines there don't include access. They should be there. They're important. They play a key role. They're a level of authority similar to a BCA consultant, to a fire engineer, to services consultants. They can change the dynamics or the project itself, the design layout. So why aren't they as part of the declaration process and ensuring everyone's aligned and streamlined? You may think that's a negative thing to say they should be part of that the DBP Act, but I think it's a positive thing. It gives them an opportunity to voice themselves and the relevance and the importance of their involvement in a project. They can't be neglected.
Because currently, access consultant not having obligations to be under the Act won't take on board their work as a serious delivery, like others who are under the Act, declaring the design and showing their commitment of delivery.
Yeah, there's a professional duty of care there. It's interesting because you could look at a facade engineer or a structural engineer making changes, or an architect that all declare, and they got the access advice or report early, but if they make changes later and redeclare and not include an access consultant, then there's a shortfall in the system.
There's a gap there that's not captured.
And I think bringing awareness back to the developer and us helping the developer better understand this, because they might get blindsided by it. They might have not meant it, but there's a level of discrimination that we have to avoid for what we don't see. And that's what our job is. Our job is to ensure the quality compliance of any project that we deliver is upheld. So there's those gateways, and that needs to be in place where the access consultant is brought in under the DBP Act.
Thank you, David. So David, how has the integration of accessibility and inclusivity principles transformed and shaped the way of your teams approaches the design and construction stage?
Well, how we approach our design management or design coordination phase on any project, and depending on what phase of the project it's at, is we try to mature the design approach. We like to prefer to take on projects from DA stage and not wait to take on projects that hit CC stage, because there's a lot missing in that first initial phase, and that's the most important. People rush that phase so quickly just to get an approval through council. They'll come to us and go, right, get me my CC and let's go for construction. It doesn't work that way.
You want to be integrated even maybe earlier than the design initial assessment, let's say.
That's right, and that's where we talk about the mature design approach. And the mature design approach is let's bring forward what we do later at the beginning of the project, at the initial phase, even down to the initial briefing to consultants, how we procure and scope to our consultants in their scope of works, the project-specific requirements, or the client brief, or the objectives and codes, and that allows us, in a mature approach, to spatialise and provision for all the moving parts that you're going to need through to CC, through to construction, but early. So when you do get that approval in council, it's a quick, streamlined approach, straight through CC, straight to issue for construction sets, declared, and off you go to build. You're minimising errors, you're mitigating any issues and resolving a lot of problems up front. And there's an awareness and there's a realisation for the client to know what you can and can't do early on. Because a lot of the times the clients have this vision in their head, like they picture exactly what they're going to get, but it's not what they're going to get, because there's a lot of parameters and moving parts to a project. So when we apply fire and we bring in BCA and we bring in all the services and access early, you're starting to massage the building in its context, and you find out where you're going to land. And at that point there, you're confident with putting this forward with no errors. And that's the whole mature design approach. And what that is us building the building before it's built, breaking it down into pieces and feeding it back through the scope of works in the design process, almost like a reverse engineering the concept.
Yeah, I also want to comment on something that I realized a long time ago, but now we can see it more and more popping, because clients, they don't want to do what you just mentioned earlier on performance solutions. The amount of performance solutions that we are forced to do and address at the CC stage are enormous.
Yes.
Why? Because they didn't do that at the design stage or the DA stage. They left it to the end, and we inherit projects where we have no other solution except a method of performance solution to justify this non-compliance.
Correct.
Which is costly to the developer and also time-consuming.
Further to that, Rami, is that while we're going through the process of mitigating the risks and avoiding all these errors, we find there's a bit of a grey area in our industry right now with all the building reforms and the moving parts around declarations and what happens on site and what happens before site. So by allowing this mature design approach we've just discussed, it allows that there's less complications when you hit site, and you avoid all those changes that might arise. When those changes arise, everyone's got a personal opinion about how this is to be sort of approached and delivered. You've got from BCA consultants to fire engineers to PCAs, all disagreeing or agreeing in one way or another, not wanting to either declare or go back to a new CC. So why wait for the headache then, when we should be actually designing it in accordance to the proper design process, to the standards, to the new NCC codes, and ensuring that we're all under the alignment and the requirements under the DPP and RAB Act early, not wait for the problem to go. It's going to get worse, and it compounds, and it stops the project and creates so much frustration for the client that every day is spending money on this site while we're working on it. There's interest component to this, there's sunset clauses, there's so many moving parts that everyone's got tunnel vision and think about their own sort of discipline. Well, we've all got to have shared accountability. And if we have that shared accountability at the start and we bring all these decision makers or authorities early, we resolve the problem quick. And we have that opportunity. You've got a blank canvas, do it then. Minimise your performance solutions and all these band-aid solutions.
Or completely eliminate them when you have a full compliant design as well.
Correct.
So how do you think accessing consulting added value to creative vision in general, and specifically added the value in their professional growth for its team members?
Well, I think the more and more that we work closely with our team of consultants, because we consider them as part of our team, we're constantly being around them and exposed to their language and their understanding and their approach and their methods in their discipline, specifically access. So the more and more we work on projects with Access Link together collectively, we're constantly learning every day. And it's like it's planting seeds in our own staff members that when we approach new projects from the beginning, or even before we go out to tender for consultants, those lessons learned roll over. They roll over at the procurement phase. You know, our team has another bounce in this step. They have a bit more confidence when dealing with that particular discipline. So working closely with Access Link allows us to learn. We're constantly learning. In-house, we're always learning. No one's ever right. We're like I mentioned earlier on in the opening, you know, I've completed the sort of, you know, the full circle of my career growth, but that full circle is still continuing its growth.
100%.
You can never mature and
You can
find
never
that
stop
endpoint.
learning in life.
So dealing with Access consultants on every project is a learning curve. We learn something new every day, and policies and codes and legislation change constantly, the shifting goalposts. We try to stay 2 steps ahead. If anything, what we try to do is hold workshops in our office or go to seminars, and we bring in industry professionals, so we're constantly educated and learning. You can't just stop and wait for a project. We've got to, you know, prepare for the storm to come. That's how we look at it.
Correct. Thank you for your input. So David, what advice would you give to people who are, and professionals as well, who are new to the accessibility sector? And that covers everyone, including developers, builders, architects, and even new access consultants who just started their career.
Yeah, I'll break up this answer into a few parts because I think there needs to be a level of awareness and a level of opportunity for the different audiences this is targeting. One would start with the younger generation coming through that are wanting to become access consultants, or even consultants that are working in the space collaborating with access consultants or current access consultants. This is your chance and your moment to step up and give a voice for your discipline due to its relevance and how essential it is to a project. I would take that and not take a back seat and make a game-changing approach, because you're an influencer in this space. You make big changes to design, and I think that needs to be brought forward early. Like we discussed mature design approach, like we discussed the DBP Act, and becoming registered as a design practitioner. These are key points that are important and will position you at that same level of, you know, essential services. So at Creative Vision, we work very closely with a lot of the universities. We run internship programs at UNSW, Sydney University, UWS, and Macquarie. And we give an opportunity to these newcomers that want to realise there's the area that they're working in, or they're studying, and come to an understanding, is this for them? And we kind of throw them in the deep end a bit. And they realise, you know, we give them the exposure and they see more than what they're learning and understand the industry quite significantly. And this brings good results. We're giving them an opportunity and a platform to take charge of their own career. And I ask the same thing to happen with access consultants too. There's different platforms for everybody, and this is one of those moments where, you know, take charge, talk to your institutes. You know, let's see how we can bring this back onto Department of Fair Trading and see if we can bring up that access consultants become a design practitioner. Yep. But this can't happen without the community of access consultants coming together and talking about that.
Correct.
And that's one audience. The other audience are the clients, and clients can be landowners, developers, or builders. All three of these players need to have some sort of awareness. So I ask for them to come to a realization very early how important it is to have the access consultants involved early in your project. It'll save you a lot of headache, save you a lot of time and a lot of money, and ensure you're actually realizing what it is that you envision for this project. You can have the opportunity to still make it work. Don't just rush it off and hope that you'll get a report or a performance solution that will get you over the line. It doesn't work like that anymore, and we've got to do things the right way.
True.
So we're all accountable. We've all got the power to appoint, And with those kind of positions or that level of decision making and leadership, everyone in the industry, even project managers, all the consultants need to ensure that we all take charge early on and create an impact in this space.
In addition to what you said, I think that once that is achieved, I think the professional development and working on themselves is very important, because I see in the industry the lack of self-development as well. So once they get the accreditation, or let's say they are part of the the board or the community, let's say, or they started their work or journey, some of people, they completely forget the fact of self-development and to stay up to date with the current legislation and what is needed to be a unique person, as in terms of firm delivering quality work and enhancing the confidence of participants. When I say participant, I mean, let's say, SDA providers or people with disability occupying the premises. And this was reflected on us when we went through with your help and with your company's help, in the process of obtaining the RCERT accreditation, and special thanks to you and the team for making this happen. It was a lengthy and enjoyable journey at the same time, because we were the first access consultant to obtain the 3-star gold star rating with ICERT and Equifax. So it was challenging with them as well, because they never had the chance to also have this procedure with access consultants. So we came in with you, listing all the requirements based on their category and their checklist. So yeah, that's very important, I reckon, step to be taken to all industries to enhance the quality of work and assurance of the product they deliver.
I agree with you there, Rami, and thank you for allowing us the opportunity to assist you and the team and Access Link to achieving that milestone of being an ICERT-rated player. And I think it's a key and very important point. Why is it that consultants are achieving this? This was brought out more for builders and developers. But the more and more we work in this space, we realise that we all speak the same language and we have a level of involvement that's important. So we're aligning ourselves with these other players. Hence why project managers, creative vision, we took the charge to go get that ICERT rating, for the simple fact of our main key goal was to bridge the gap between the industry, all the players in the industry, from builders, developers and landowners, with current building and construction reforms. There was a gap, and we filled that gap, and that's our challenge, and that's what we're trying to do day in, day out. Now, we've achieved our ICERT back to back now, so it's assuring the end user and the clients and the wider public and the community and the industry that we're a trustworthy player. And we've got integrity, we're ISO accredited, we've got a full IMS system, and that is what we bring to other consultants in the industry or builders and developers. Part of our key service is to provide advisory roles, and we've done that and set up governance processes and procedures for everybody in this space, from builders and developers, and they've been successful too in getting their ICERT. And we're just trying to lift the bar and sort of echo what the Building Commissioner has been trying to do from the day he started this whole journey. And collectively, if we all do this the right way, we're all going to sort of land in the same spot and eventually give back trust and confidence to the wider public and the community. Now, in saying that, this is good for all young individuals coming through the ranks, that you want to align yourself with companies that are of that stature. You're going to be dealing with caliber. You're going to be at the front end and leading the pack to doing the right thing in the industry. So let's give them an opportunity, but we're also asking them to take a chance and jump in and move in the right direction. Don't be pigeonholed, because unfortunately over the last 10 years that's what's been happening. there's a lot of quality and undervalued people in our industry, or uneducated, that have got their degrees, and because of them being pigeonholed in bigger firms or companies, unfortunately they've missed out on that growth or that understanding of what really is going on in the industry and what they should be doing. They've taken on some bad habits. It's time to rewire that and realign yourself with the right people, the right teams and companies to provide an impact.
And that's exactly where our mission or our vision, stating people, helping people, because once an individual develop themselves and promote themselves, they promote not only their firm, but they also passing this knowledge to others who will create an impact for people and deliver a better outcome. So eventually it's a process, and it's like a chain linked together to have a final end result of helping a community and providing better service to all.
Yeah, correct.
David, thank you so much for your time today and for being part of People Helping People program. The whole intention for the program is to shed the light on people and companies who create impact on the community, on other people's life, and changing the perception of others in how we look at things to create a positive impact. So today was really helpful for others who can hear us and listen to us on bringing the importance of the construction industry from your perspective and how it's moving to the future, to have the foundation even more solid than what it is today. So again, I really appreciate your time, effort, and all the positive impact that Creative Vision is creating for the future and the community.
Greatly appreciated, Rami. Thank you again for the opportunity to allow us, myself, to be part of this great cause. People helping people. It's one of our core values. It's where Creative Vision first started. It led to that. It led to a serious cause. We had a lot of clients, landowners, and builders and developers reach out looking for who can they trust, who can they come to take them from A to Z, down to turnkey, because they didn't know where to go. And that is the niche that we've carved out, and this is where we're here to serve, and we have a duty, and it is our duty to deliver on this trustworthy approach and the quality aspects of the project. And we're here to serve everybody, not just the clients, but the consultants along the way. We're not here to challenge. And that is all part of helping them and them helping us and upskilling. And eventually we're going to get to a point where we all become, the A team that provides better quality output collectively. And I thank you again for that opportunity to speak today. And I look forward to many more projects with Access Link. And
me too.
Thank you for the learning that my team has sort of taken on board from your team.
Absolute pleasure, David.
Appreciate it.